Everyone thinks the Alienware Pro Wireless is just another overpriced RGB flex for Alienware fans. But here is the thing. This mouse is way more serious than the marketing makes it look. And that is both its biggest strength and its biggest problem. I spent the last 2 weeks using it as my daily driver in ranked Apex, Valorant scrims, and boring spreadsheet work. And what I found does not quite line up with the hype. On paper, you get 4K wireless polling up to 8K wired, a 26K DPI sensor, modular shells, and esports branding with Team Liquid. Sounds like an instant buy, right? But once you actually grind hours on it, a few things pop up that nobody mentions. Before we dive into what I discovered in testing, quick heads up. If you are already thinking this might be your next mouse, I will drop the best current Amazon price in the description. But stick around, because what I found might change whether you click that link or not. So why did I even bother with the Alienware Pro Wireless in the first place? Look, I was firmly in the Logitech G Pro X Superlight camp. Lightweight, safe shape, done. But I was hitting a wall, micro-flick consistency in Valorant, random tiny jitters on my old mouse feet, and a battery that seemed to die right when I queued ranked. Plus, every new wireless mouse launch looked like the same copy-paste formula. Under 60 grams, 26K DPI, buzzword sensor, call it a day. When Alienware dropped this thing with 4K wireless polling and a modular back shell, I was skeptical but curious. I have also been burned before by Alienware. Flashy lights, heavy bodies, and software that made my PC cry. So I went into this fully expecting to send it back after a week. Instead, I forced myself to use only this mouse for 14 days. About 30 matches of Valorant, hours of Apex and CS, some casual Fortnite, and my normal 8-hour workdays editing and doing admin. And that is where the real story starts. First, performance. The 4K wireless polling is not just a gimmick on paper. Running it on a 240Hz monitor in Valorant Deathmatch, micro-adjustments on long-range taps actually felt cleaner. Tracking an Apex at 400 DPI with 4K polling felt more locked in than my old 1K setup. But then, here is the catch. You only get that full 4K experience with the included dongle, and it chews through battery. I was averaging around 28-30 hours at 4K polling before needing a charge versus Alienware's claim of roughly 32 hours. At 1K polling, though, I was getting over 100 hours easily, so if you are not grinding ranked every day, you will be fine. Shape and comfort were where I expected this mouse to fall apart. It is around 60 grams, surprisingly light for an Alienware product, and the modular back shell lets you switch between a flatter, faster feel and a slightly more ergonomic hump. I tested both. In claw grip for Valorant, I stuck with the flatter shell. For long editing sessions, I preferred the higher hump. But then, here is where it gets interesting. The front of the mouse is narrow, and if you have larger hands or prefer a wide palm grip, you may feel cramped. I have medium hands and it felt great, but when a friend with big hands tried it, he hated it in under 5 minutes. Clicks and scroll. The optical switches are crisp and very low latency. I did not experience double clicks, and the primary buttons have minimal pre-travel. However, the side buttons are on the smaller, lower profile side. In frantic Apex fights, I occasionally missed my melee bind because the buttons sit just a touch too flush. The scroll wheel is textured and precise, great for weapon swapping, but not as buttery as some Razer wheels I have used. Now the big elephant in the room, software. Alienware Command Center has improved since the old days, but let us be real, it is still not on the same level of simplicity as Logitech G Hub or Razer Synapse. It took me a few minutes to even find the polling rate options and set custom DPI stages. Once configured, everything stayed saved on board, which is good, but the initial setup is a bit annoying. If you hate bloated software, this will bug you. In day-to-day use, though, latency and reliability were rock solid. I tested it on both 2.4 GHz wireless and Bluetooth. Bluetooth was fine for office work, not recommended for sweaty gaming. The 2.4 GHz dongle with 4K polling never dropped out, even with a Wi-Fi router and a wireless keyboard nearby. The pure PTFE feet glide as smoothly as you would expect. On a cloth pad, I had zero scratchiness, and after 2 weeks they still looked fresh. Here is the surprising part. The biggest upgrade for me was not the 4K buzzword. It was consistency. Over 20+ hours of ranked games, my aim tracking felt the same session after session. No weird stutters, no micro-latency spikes. Just boring, reliable performance. And that is exactly what you want from a competitive mouse. My most surprising discovery, though, came when I actually swapped back to my old main, the G Pro X Superlight 2, after 2 weeks on the Alienware Pro Wireless. I expected to feel faster and more comfortable. Instead, the Logitech suddenly felt a bit floaty. The combination of Alienware's stiffer clicks, higher polling, and slightly more defined grip with the modular shell made my microflicks feel more deliberate. That was not what I was expecting at all. Here is the thing. I put over 40 hours total into this mouse between gaming and work, and the more time I invested, the more it justified its price tag. Does it beat every alternative? Not universally. The Logitech and Razer competition still win on plug-and-play software and slightly safer shapes for most people. But if you specifically care about ultra-low latency wireless, and you like a slightly more aggressive, mid-sized shape, the Alienware Pro Wireless starts making a lot of sense. The too good to be true factor is the price. This is not a budget mouse. You are paying a premium for the 4K wireless, 8K wired capability, modular design, and Alienware branding. If you are just playing casually at 60 or 75 Hz, you will not notice the full advantage. But on a 240 or 360 Hz monitor with competitive shooters, the difference in smoothness and click feel is noticeable. Now that you know what actually matters with the Alienware Pro Wireless, here is your next move. If you decide this fits your grip and playstyle, grab it while the price is discounted, because these high-end mice tend to bounce in price. I will leave a link in the description to the best current Amazon deals so you do not overpay. Bottom line, the Alienware Pro Wireless is not just RGB tax. It is a genuinely competitive esports-grade mouse with elite wireless performance, great weight, and a clever modular shell system, held back mainly by finicky software, and a shape that will not suit very large hands. If you are a competitive FPS player on a high refresh monitor, and you like medium, slightly aggressive shapes, this is absolutely worth the investment. If you are casual, on a tight budget, or have very big hands, I would look at alternatives like the G Pro X Superlight 2 or Razer Viper line instead. For the right player, though, this mouse turns Alienware from hype into results.